Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I think this is the 30th session we have on the series of Sufi Path of Knowledge. So well done to all of you for making it this far. MashaAllah, that's a lot of classes. So last time I think we talked about the manifestation of the impossible with regard to imagination, and then we went on to the new chapter that discusses the cloud in detail. So now we're in the middle of the cloud. Okay. So the Shaykh Al-Akbar says, قدس الله سره. Thank you, Hannah. um, though Ibn al-Arabi usually maintains that the cloud is identical, excuse me. Though he usually maintains that the cloud is identical with the breath of the All-Merciful, sometimes, as in the following passage, he distinguishes between the two and says that the cloud comes into existence through the breath. So, oh no, I could never get sick of you guys. A'udhu billah. So, usually like they're the same. The cloud and the nafas al-Rahman, the breath of the All-Merciful are the same thing. But if you want to make a distinction, the breath of the All-Merciful is prior, it's wider, and the cloud is what comes after it. But they're like essentially the same thing. Um, so contiguous imagination derives from one of the phases of non-delimited imagination, which is the all-comprehensive presence at the all-inclusive level. Like this is a mouthful, okay? Do we remember what contiguous imagination is?
I remember what contiguous is.
So contiguous, yeah, go ahead.
Contiguous is something that's adjoining to something else or that's in contact with something else.
Yeah, right. So there's two kinds of imagination, right? One is contiguous and one is discontiguous, right? So discontiguous imagination is imagination that is existing in objective reality and it's not connected to a person. So, like if a person dies, that object and discontiguous imagination continues to exist. Contiguous imagination is something that's joined, like mutasal. It's joined with the person who imagines it. So you could have like a saint who brings something into existence with his imagination, but it comes from him. So when he dies, that thing dies too. So that's called contiguous imagination. Okay. So that is one of the faces of non-delimited imagination, which is, and so non-delimited is like unlimited. So that is non-delimited imagination, which means the whole of existence, which means that is equivalent to the all-comprehensive presence, al-hadra al-jam'a, the all-inclusive level. This cloud becomes configured within the breath of the All-Merciful, according to this passage, inasmuch as the All-Merciful is a God, not inasmuch as he is only all-merciful. All existent things become manifest within the cloud through B, or one hand or two hands. So we've read this passage previously, right? God created Adam with his two hands. That's how he brings something into existence. Or one hand. So he wrote down the Torah with his one hand. And he planted the tree of Tuba in Al Jannah with one hand. In contrast, the cloud itself becomes manifest only through the breath. Were it not for the fact that the word breath has come into law, we would not have applied the term, though we knew the reality. So we discussed that last time and we read it. Uh, the root of the breath is the property of love. Love has a movement within the lover, while the breath is a movement of yearning toward the object of love. And through that breathing, enjoyment is experienced. And God has said, as has been reported, I was a treasure, but was not known, so I loved to be known. So love is the source of existence. Through this love, breathing takes place. So the breath becomes manifest and the cloud comes into being. And Sheikh Al Akbar has like a whole story on this. As the barzakh, the cloud stands between God and nothingness and shares in the attributes of both. Um, so as the barzakh, the cloud stands between God and nothingness. Both. Sorry, guys, are you still there? Because I've got like a really bad internet connection. Let me know if you're there.
Yeah, you completely disappeared. Like the sound disappeared for a while.
Hmm.
Okay. What was the last thing you guys heard?
The, as the barzakh, the cloud stands between God and nothingness, and that was it.
Okay, thanks. So God takes on the attributes of the creatures, and please write down something if you ever can't hear me, so I know that I'm not like, speaking to nothing, right? If you can't hear me, let me know so I can fix it. Um, okay. God takes on the attributes of the creatures in the barzakh, and they become clothed in his qualities. So there's an intertwinement. It's not a confusion, but because you're in the presence of imagination, one thing takes on the qualities of the other thing. So God takes on the attributes of the creatures, and they become clothed in his qualities. Um, so that's why, like, we can hear God being described in what we consider to be human qualities. He has a hand, he sees, he hears, he runs, like he jogs. He rejoices, he sits down, he stands up, and that's also why human beings can be described with qualities that one would consider divine. A human being can be described with the quality of magnificence, right? Of being mighty, of being holy, right? And all these different qualities of being a provider, a nourisher, sustainer, a creator in some manner, right? That indicates to us that we are in the realm of imagination. Um, okay, that's why I find it very fascinating when we encounter polytheistic myths. One way of explaining them is that they occur in the realm of imagination, where this intertwinement happens, right? You'll always see Homer describing the characters in the Iliad and the Odyssey in divine qualities. And he'll say something like, God-like Achilles came, right? Or God-like Odysseus stood up, right? So God in his essence remains incomparable, but he discloses himself by means of the barzakh, thus being called similar. Hence, the rational faculty is unable to grasp the nature of the barzakh without outside help, since on its own it can only perceive incomparability. To understand the nature of the barzakh, we have to fall back on imagination. Through through the barzakh, the immutable entities God's knowledge are able to find existence in the cosmos just as through meanings without form come to be seen in the clothing of forms. So, guys, can you hear me? Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, thanks. The
Yes.
cloud,
Yes.
yeah.
okay, okay, thanks. The cloud is the barzakh standing between meanings, which have no entities in existence, and luminous corporeal bodies and nature. So the cloud is the barzakh standing between the world of meanings, which have no entities in existence, and luminous corporeal bodies and nature. Hmm. Luminous corporeal. Okay, fine. Yeah. So the physical world. Take, for example, the meanings knowledge and movement. The first within souls and the second within corporeal bodies. The meanings become corporealized in the presence of imagination. Do you know what corporealized means? Like it acquires a body, like knowledge in the form of milk. So knowledge becomes milk. Um, in the same way, relationships become entified, even though they have no entities, whether in the soul or in corporeal bodies. And so relationships acquire an entity, a body, like death becomes a body, for example, on the day of judgment. Your works become bodies on the day of judgment, right? In your dreams, even in your dreams, relationships can become bodies. Thus, a thing's constancy is a relationship in terms of that which is constant within the thing. But this constancy becomes manifest in the form of a sensory cord within the presence of contiguous imagination. So, of course, this is about Islam, being constant in one's Islam, manifests itself in your dreams as a firm cord, the unshakable firm cord that you grasp and can be relied upon. In the same way, spirits become manifest in the forms of bodies having shapes, such as Gabriel in the form of Dihya, or those angels which become manifest as dust on the day of Badr. What dust is he talking about? When Rasulullah on the day of Badr grabs a handful of dust and he throws. And then the Quran says, you do not throw when you threw, but Allah threw. So he's making an additional point that dust, those particles of dust were angels. All this takes place in this contiguous imagination. So generally speaking, angels are related to this contiguous imagination, because if we die, those angels continue living, like Gabriel and Seraphiel, like quite obviously, right? And Michael. And then the dreams that you see that are specific to you, like this cord, this sensory cord, right? It's contiguous imagination. Like it depends on you. Like you saw it because it was related to you, right? In short, the cloud is identical with non-delimited imagination, considered as the very substance within which take place. So I like to think of it as Play-Doh, right? You can make any shape out of it, and it's all part of the same substance, which is the cloud. Okay. In making this point, Ibn al-Arabi refers to the hadith of God's self-transmutation on the day of resurrection, which we've come across multiple times. When people continue to deny him until he manifests himself to them in a form which they recognize from Sahih Muslim and Bukhari as well, but especially Muslim. The real is denied in one form and accepted in another. The entity is one, but the forms are diverse. Like he's almost speaking Greek or Chinese if you don't get the references, but it's literally with reference to the what? Forms of belief. So in one form as the Christian deity, Jesus Christ, he might be acknowledged by some people, and in another form, like as the Buddha, for example, if there are Buddhists that worship him, since they don't really believe in a deity, some people might deny him as Buddha, for example, or acknowledge him as Buddha but deny him Christ, for example, right? And the same goes for all the forms, even though the entity is one, and he is all of those deities, he's all of those things. But the forms are diverse. This is exactly what we mean by the diversity of forms. That is, the forms of the cosmos within the cloud. In respect of being forms, the forms are imaginalized things, متخيلات, while the cloud within which they become manifest is imagination. So also is his self-disclosure to hearts, and within the entities of the possible things. He is the manifest, and he is also the forms in accordance with what is bestowed upon him by the entities of the possible things through their preparednesses. He is the manifest, he is Allah. He is exactly what you see with your very eye, even though you can't pinpoint him. But what you see is him and none other than him. So he's also the forms, but he responds by taking shape in accordance with what is bestowed upon him by the entities of the possible things through their preparedness, right? Such that he becomes manifest within them. The possible things are the cloud, while the manifest within the cloud is the real. Hence, the cloud is the, so this is a mustalah. This is a technical term. Hence, the cloud is the real through whom creation takes place. So this technical term is al-haq al-makhluq bihi. Al-haq al-makhluq bihi. So this cloud is, which is another way of saying it's Allah. But it's the real who is created in that cloud, right? So Sheikh Al-Akbar distinguishes between the absolute non-delimited God, who is uncreated, غير مجعول, and you have a second level in which this is the haqq al-makhluq bihi, the God created in beliefs, or in this case, the God created through the cloud, right? Or the dust, al-habba. So the diversity of the entities of the possible things derives from their own immutability. They exercise properties over him who manifests himself within them. So it makes you question, like, what is an immutable entity? Because there's a realm of immutability. Just as you have a realm of spirits and a realm of bodies and a realm of imagination, there is a realm of immutability. It is a realm in which the things are what they are, right? They're fixed. And we've talked about this before. Like the immutable entity of Sayyidina Umar bin Khattab, anhu, the second Caliph of Islam, is a mu'min. But he used to be a mushrik and a kafir. Which is why the ulama say when he was bowing down to idols, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still loved him when he was bowing down to idols because he was still a mu'min in his immutable entity. That's his reality, right? So if that's what an immutable thing and being is, then and if what we see in the cosmos is only a dhahir, the manifest, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is the immutable things and the realities that exercise the properties over him. So that he manifests according to what you give him, right? So if the immutable entity of a rose that we see that's blooming, right? That's just Allah that manifests himself in accordance with the reality of that rose that's been blooming from all eternity in the realm of immutable entities. So they exercise their properties over him, right? So just the things that make him manifest himself within their own realities. It's kind of like a lot of jargon, but once you get the hang of it, like it makes sense. And it sort of does link Maham to I am as my servant thinks of me. But that's not what we're discussing right now because we're discussing like cosmology, the way the cosmos manifests itself. But it's completely on a second level. It is completely connected to the idea that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will manifest himself to you. He will manifest himself to you in accordance with your belief of him and the way you think about him and the opinion you hold about him. So the cosmos, guys, are there any questions thus far? And if you come up with anything, don't hesitate to put it down in the chat.
Sorry, just one maybe if you have time.
Yeah, go ahead, Mara, please.
First of all, salam alaikum, because I didn't get the chance to say.
Wa alaikum assalam.
I was wondering if immutability, I know we're discussing cosmology, but I was wondering, based on the words you used, I was trying to see if there's anything that I heard before, and the words you used reminded me of something. Could we say that the immutability manifests in through our hearts? Because this would, based on what you said, once a Muslim, always a Muslim.
Yeah, but for who? For Omar. That might not be true of someone else, right? So it definitely manifests to your heart, but it manifests literally in every single thing you do, Mara. Um, so it's hard finding like the right analogy, but every single thing you're doing is your immutable entity. The only difference is, like, if you could ascend, go up, okay? If you could ascend to the realm of immutable entities, you could see the full reality of yourself there. The problem is here, we get half the picture, or a quarter of the picture, or 1/10 of the picture. We only get like a partial picture of who we are here. So here, it's like, I'm not sure who I am. So if you're doing well as a decent person, that's not a guarantee you'll continue to do well. So be on your guard. And if you're someone who's not doing too well here, and there are things you're not proud of, don't lose hope because that might not be who you are. So here it's the realm of confusion. We don't know fully who we are, not fully. But in the realm of the mutual entities, you know fully what you are. And what's happening here is the unfolding or the possibilities of what's contained in your immutable archetype.
So, no,
It's a,
I was
it's
thinking, because yes, everything you said is true, but at the same time, I know that, so Allah knows what's in our hearts. For example,
yes.
a kafir could also, as the example you said before, a kafir could also be very loved by Allah because Allah knows what's in their hearts. And I'm not, I guess the
100%.
question wasn't from the perspective of how I see myself or how someone else would see themselves. I was, could, could, could there be a immutable reality in our hearts that only Allah knows, but it's there. It's like a, it's like a profound, it's like a mini dimension within us that exists in this reality that is only half known.
Yes, there is. But remind me to put it out in the chat room when we finish the lesson. But yes, there is.
Yeah.
That's found in the next book. What's called the Self-Disclosure of God. Yes, there is. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And if you remind me in the chat, I'll find you the passage. Okay.
Okay. Jazakallah khair.
Allah yabarak fiki. It's related to a prophetic hadith about Iman being woven into the breasts of the woman and like knowing who you really are. Okay. So let's carry on then, inshallah. The cosmos is a collection of imaginalized forms that take shape within the cloud, right? And it's imaginalized because the things have no substance in the reality in themselves, right? Everything is like a vanishing shadow, constantly changing forms. So the cloud, like all clouds, undergoes constant transformation in its outward form, which is what will happen to us and does happen to us, though its substance remains the same. Hence, the term cloud, like the term imagination, is employed to call attention to the evanescence of all created existence. What is evanescence? Yeah, who can explain what that word is? It's the fact that it doesn't last. The evanescence of all created existence, the fact that it's not going to last. But there's a better way of explaining it, but maybe someone can do it better than me. And in the state, I tend to think of like the image of like bubbles in a glass of like sparkling water. Like it's like bubbling and it's there for a moment, then it's gone. Like that's evanescence. In the state of its existence, the cloud is nothing but the forms which the cloud sorry, did I say cloud? In the state of its existence, excuse me, the cosmos is nothing but the forms which the cloud receives and which become manifest within it. So the cosmos, if you look upon its reality, is nothing but a vanishing accident. That is, its ruling property is evanescence, like it's designed to disappear. Zawal. Zawal is to disappear. This is shown by his words, everything is annihilated except its face. The Prophet ﷺ said, the truest verse sung by the Arabs is the line of Labid, is not everything other than God unreal, batil. In other words, other than God has no reality of its own through which it is fixed, since it exists through other than itself. So this is al-wujud bi ghayrihi, right? Al-wujud bi ghayrihi, which means you have no intrinsic existence. So the immutable substance, al-jawhar al-thabit, is the cloud, which is nothing other than the breath of the All-Merciful. The cosmos is all the forms which become manifest within it. So they are accidents which may be made to vanish. These forms are the possible things. Their relationship to the cloud is the relationship of the forms which the viewer sees in a mirror to the mirror. The real is the sight of the cosmos, so he is the viewer. Okay, any questions here? Okay, the breath of the All-Merciful. Ibn al-Arabi quotes two hadiths as the source for the expression breath of the All-Merciful, Nafas al-Rahman. Do not curse the wind, for it derives from the breath of the All-Merciful. I find the breath of the All-Merciful coming to me from the direction of Yemen. He explains that in both cases, the word nafas alludes to a kind of tanfis, a word from the same root, which means to air, to cheer up, to comfort, to relieve, to remove sorrow. In the first hadith, the Prophet ﷺ is referring to the fact that wind is one of the means whereby God gives comfort and relief to his servants, and in the second, to the comfort, um, to the comfort? To comfort, so this is a mistake. To comfort certain of his, oh, sorry, no, this is correct. So in the second, to the comfort certain of his companions gave to him in face of the opposition of his own family to his prophetic mission. The Sheikh compares the breath of the All-Merciful to the human breath in order to provide an analogy for the creative process. Each characteristic of breath becomes the starting point for the explanation of a dimension of the relationship between God and creation. Thus, breath is a vapor, relieves constriction in the breast, and is the vehicle for words. In the same way, the breath of the All-Merciful is a cloud, relieves the constriction of the immutable entities, or the divine names, which desire to see the outward manifestation of their properties, and is the vehicle for God's words, which are the creatures. Does anyone not know what this is? The constriction of the immutable entities? It goes back to a myth that the Sheikh Al-Akbar writes in the Futuhat al-Makkiyah when he says that when nothing was made, the only thing that existed were the immutable entities in potentiality and the divine names in potentiality. So like there's this unbearable constriction, like unbearable tightness, right? Almost like a frustration that they felt because the divine names had no one to exercise their authority over, and the immutable entities had no existence. So that kind of so Henry Corbin glosses it as a kind of like sadness, a divine sadness. We could say maybe not exactly a sadness, but a tightening, a constriction. That's like a constriction you feel in your chest, right? In your chest. And so because you feel that, you suddenly feel this overwhelming need to take a breath and you let it out. And that is creation. So the immutable entities come into existence, and then the divine names suddenly can exercise their authority over actual created things. Yes, go ahead, Hannah.
I was just wondering the way it's translated here. He's got immutable entities and then in brackets all the divine names. Does he mean
Yes.
the immutable entities, all the divine names, or immutable entities, all AKA, also known as the divine names?
What a great question.
Are they separate or not? Because
What a great question. You struck a minefield, my friend.
sorry, for a laugh.
So firstly, yeah, this is a great question. So firstly, he does mean relieving the constriction of the entities and relieving the constriction of the divine names. This is the first thing. So they're both constricted, right? This mythopoesis, we can call it, goes back to chapter 66 of the Futuhat. Anyone who wants to read the whole story can go back to chapter 66 of the Futuhat, okay? If you want to see the full story. But secondly, no, the mutual entities are the divine names. They're the two sides of the same coin. In concept, they're not identical, because obviously, like, I'm not a divine name, strictly speaking, right? But they're two sides of the same coin, literally. That's what makes each thing divine. Each thing has its own private lord, which is and its private lord is the divine name. That is its very essence, which is its immutable entity. And why is this the case? Because they're correlative terms. They are correlational terms. You can't have one without the other. It's like saying high without low and low without high, or hot without cold or cold without hot. They're correlational terms. They each go with each other. So yes, also AKA the divine names. Yes. So it's like if a person digs down deep enough, what you discover is your very self is a divine name. If you dig down deep enough, like that's your reality. Which is what you get in also in some mystic Hindu traditions when you talk about the self with a capital S. So yeah, thanks, Hannah. Okay, these ideas are all intertwined, but the third is most central to the concept of God's breath and is closely connected to the imagery of book versus words and letters provided by the Quran. So each created thing in the universe is a word of God, is a word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Each creature is a word of God. As Quranic proof for this point, Ibn al-Arabi often quotes the verse, the Messiah, al-Masih, Isa ibn Maryam, was his word that he cast into Mary, right? To show that a created thing may be called a word. What is the argument here? If the Quran says Isa, Jesus, is his word, why is Ibn Arabi saying the whole universe, every object in existence? Like, shouldn't that only
Sorry,
apply to Jesus?
we can't hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Couldn't really hear what you're saying there. Yeah.
All right. Okay, I'll repeat it. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Hello? Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Ibn al-Arabi often quotes the verse, the Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary, was his word they cast into Mary. But Sheikh Al-Akbar also says that every object in the universe is God's word. So why is he saying that? Like, what's the argument for that when the Quran says Jesus is his word? Shouldn't it only be Jesus?
Well, maybe because it says was Astaghfirullah, when it says was his word that he cast into Mary, but implying that he could cast his word into other things as well.
But he's calling Jesus a word. So why call? So why? How can? It's more about how. How can Ibn Arabi say every object in the universe is a word? It's because in the Quran, this his is a designation of, and it's a level of honor. It's a designation of honor. Jesus is his word. Kalimatuhu, his word, right? That does not imply that God has no other word. So every object in the universe is God's word. But Jesus alayhi has the honor of being designated God's own word, right? And it's a title that's given to Rasulullah as well, because any title that's given to any Nabi is also belongs to Rasulullah. And then you also have indications in Surah Al-Kahf. If the ocean were ink and the trees were pens, right? The words of my Lord would not run out. What are these words? The objects of the cosmos. There's also like a ishara, an illusion there. Oh, and there it is. Okay. In many other verses, he finds allusions to the idea that all things are God's words, especially the verse already quoted. Though all the trees in the earth were pens and the sea, 7 seas after it to replenish it were ink, yet would the words of God not be spent? As Ibn al-Arabi understands this verse, the existent things are the words of God which are not spent. Like God can't run out of words. So he can't run out of things to create. Because it's infinite. It will not run out. In one passage, the Sheikh explains the mutual love that exists between God and the creatures in terms of vision and audition, ru'ya and sam'a. Go ahead, Hannah.
Could that also imply that the existent things, which, I mean, obviously, they're infinite, existent things are infinite, but that also those existent things will remain infinitely. They won't disappear, but they will have an infinite existence in some way. Can it
Yeah,
imply
yeah.
that? Yeah. Okay.
He talks about that in other places, but I'm just kind of trying to remember what exactly he says. Um, you can't really disappear into pure non-existence because he says pure non-existence is just like a concept. There's no such thing as pure non-existence. So if you ever go into non-existence, what you fall into is relative non-existence, but you'll always exist in some manner. This is true. Yeah, this is true. It doesn't make you immortal. That's another story, right? um, but yeah, like you'll always have some kind of existence in some manner, in some way, whether it's in the barzakh or some other place. Uh, if I'm correct. So God's love for the creatures stems from his vision of them within himself as identical with himself. Seeing them as the hidden treasure he loves to be known, the creature's love for God derives from hearing the word be, which brings them into existence. They are, in effect, identical with this word. Each is the word be in a specific form, is to breathe, since in that breathing is found the enjoyment of what is sought. The breath emerges from a root. Guys, can you hear me? Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry. Can
it's a
you?
Not
bit
here.
choppy, but most of the time, yeah.
Okay, because I got a message that said the internet connection is unstable. So if I ever find that message, I'll just ask you guys again. Um,
So right now we can't hear anything. You you are existent, but we're not hearing you.
Hannah, can I ask you, are you a revert or were you
Oh
born?
yeah, yes, alhamdulillah.
Oh,
My dad was Palestinian, but he didn't bring us up as Muslims, so I'm a revert, alhamdulillah. And
wow,
you?
Mubarak. Yeah, me too.
Alhamdulillah.
No, because I noticed before you said, maybe I heard wrong, but I don't think you explained something. We were talking about Jesus, and I think you said Astaghfirullah.
Did I? Oh, I don't remember.
And I was wondering, I was
Oh
gonna
no.
ask after the class, but since I was
Oh.
wondering, yeah, it's just I think it's
yeah, guys, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're back. Hooray. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. I'm so sorry for this. Yeah, it's just because of where I am. Khair, inshallah. Okay. Oh, but you guys can't see the screen, right? So I've got to put that up again. Excuse me. All right, here we go. Okay. Can you guys see the screen?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Thanks. Okay. Okay. Where was I?
I
Okay.
I can't read today, but maybe if someone else reads, that would be better.
Um, because of the connection, but then doesn't the
Yes.
screen doesn't the screen disappear though if I go?
Well, no, it doesn't disappear actually. Well, it did, but I have actually got the book today. I have the weighty tome, so I can read
Yeah. Yeah.
if you want.
No, I'm no, no. I'll keep reading. We can try that idea when we get to the next section, inshallah. Um, okay, yeah. Let's just keep doing what we're doing right now, and then we'll see, inshallah. Okay. Where were we? Okay. The breath emerges from a root, which is love for the creatures to whom he desired to make himself known, so that they might know him. Okay. Hence the cloud comes to be. It is called the real through whom creation takes place. The cloud is the substance of the cosmos, so it receives all the forms, spirits, and natures of the cosmos. It is a receptacle ad infinitum. This is the origin of his love for us. As for our love for him, its origin is audition, not vision. Hmm. It is his words to us while we were in the substance of the cloud be, which is true because the first thing that ever happened to you in existence was you heard something. And what you heard was the command be, and then you came into existence. So your love for God is audition, whereas his love for you is vision. Yeah, okay. Hence, the cloud derives from his breathing, while the forms which are called derive from the word be. So we are his words, which are not spent. When we heard his speech, while we were immutable in the substance of the cloud, we were not able to keep back from existence. We became forms within the substance of the cloud. Through our manifestation within the cloud, he gave us an existence belonging to the cloud. A thing whose existence had been intelligible gained entified existence. This is the cause of the origin of our love for him. You know what? Yeah, I need someone to read for me. Hannah, could you do that? So let's go with what Irvina said. It's definitely a good
I can
idea.
read if Hannah doesn't want to, but sure.
Sure thing. Okay.
I'm fine reading. I don't mind whoever.
Yeah, absolutely. Either way, and we can take turns. So we start with you, Hannah, then we'll go with Mara at some point.
Awesome. Okay. Bismillah. The existent things or words come into existence within the breath as the result of God's speech. The Quran describes this speech as the single word be, yet this word is addressed to each thing in the state of its non-existence. God says, our only speech to a thing when we desire it here, our speech refers to the fact that he as a speaker is to say to it, be. Be is exactly what he speaks. Through it, that through it, that to which he says be becomes manifest. Thereby, the entities become manifest within the breath of the All-Merciful, just as letters become manifest within the human breath. The thing that comes to be a specific form, like a the thing that comes to be is a specific form, like a form painted upon wood. The analogy between the letters that take shape in the human breath and the all-merciful breath provides the basis for one of the Sheikh's major modes of describing the cosmos. Just as the Arabic alphabet has 28 letters through which the names of all things may be pronounced, so also the cosmos has 28 basic letters which combine to produce all created things. Each letter of the alphabet issues from a particular point known as the place of articulation within the vocal apparatus. Depending on how the breath passes through the throat and mouth, that is, which place of articulation is employed, letters are produced which may be guttural, velar, palatal, dental, labial, and so on. In the same way, each letter or reality of the cosmos manifests being in a specific mode different from other modes. Each, therefore, is connected to a specific divine name. Here, we cannot go into detail concerning this cosmology. It will be sufficient for our purposes to be aware of the fundamental correspondence between the human and divine breaths.
Thank you, Hannah. Guys, did you get that? Because he's drawing an analogy. He's drawing an analogy here. Yeah? Just as when you speak in kind of like the science of articulation. There are different points in your throat from which sounds emerge, and therefore certain sounds are produced in accordance with what's called the makharij al-matali', right? The makharij, the points of articulation. So it's like the sound or hamza is at one extreme end of the right articulating apparatus, and on the other end of the other spectrum, you get another letter. I think it's like, is it like yet or something? I don't know. Um, this is something I have to research actually, but it's essentially the layers of the alphabet. So you have 28 points of articulation, and it's like each one goes down your throat, right? You start from the top. As you say more letters, Arabic letters, the sounds get deeper, or they kind of like change in intensity. So the cosmos is analogous to that. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks a word, it derives from a certain point of emergence. Makhraj is the same word. Makhraj is the point of articulation in the science of speaking. But in the cosmos, the makhraj is the point of manifestation. So each letter of the alphabet, in that sense, is associated with a divine name. And each letter of the alphabet is also associated with a cosmological degree. So one point connects to the divine throne. A second letter connects to the divine kursi, the footstool. A third one connects to a certain planet. A fourth one connects to another planet, right? And it's the same with the divine names. So we all derive from a certain divine name. So like I come from one divine name, you come from a different divine name. So that entity emerges from a certain point of manifestation, which is the divine name. That God, if we can speak metaphorically, with which he articulates, he speaks. And that's where you came from. So the cosmos is literally that close in analogy. Go ahead, Irvina.
Salam alaikum, and thank you.
Fine.
Sorry, it might be noisy a bit, but the 28 letters just caught my attention, because yes, the last revelation is done in Arabic, but the other revelations are done in other languages, which have different kind of number of letters. And I was just wondering why exactly 28. For instance, Albanian has 36 letters. The other languages have other numbers, but why specifically 28?
Well, you know that for Sheikh al-Akbar, Arabic is a divine language. And you could argue if there are languages of revelation, then those languages are also divine. But you would say that the Arabic language, which was given to Muhammad sallallahu, who's the basis of creation, would also be the basis for cosmology.
But aren't
Since
all
he is the
languages
greatest of creation.
Sorry, maybe I got interrupted a bit.
Well, wait, let me finish what I'm saying though. So yeah, this is ultimately a question you would have to investigate what? Via tahqiq. You have to verify it for yourself, is what the Sheikh al-Akbar would say. So I'm just thinking aloud now with you, Irvina. Let's say, like, for example, you know how we say in Arabic, how many vowels are there in Arabic? How many vowels are there?
3?
There are 3. There are 3 vowels in Arabic. Good. You've got the kasra, you've got the dhamma, and you've got the fatha, right? Especially Arabic speakers, you'll recognize this, right? Follow me so far?
Yes.
How many vowels do you have in English?
There are more, but I don't know the exact number.
5.
In English, you got five vowels, right? So in Arabic, you've got fatha a, you've got u dhamma, and you got I kasra. In English, you got A, E, I, O, U. When I personally investigate this issue, I find that O and U are collapsible into each other. So for me, upon an investigation, like in reality, I wouldn't say there's actually five vowels. I'd say there's actually three because the O and the U are really collapsible, is what I would argue. So you'd have to draw your own conclusion once you investigate this matter. You know what I mean? It's not something that I can teach you. You've got to investigate and find out why is it in Albanian you've got 36 letters and why is in Arabic you got 28. But my suspicion is that some of the letters are collapsible into more basic letters, right? Um, and so you know how like mythology is very flexible. So if you found another myth from another language, which also has this divine articulation but with different letters, that could also be right. That doesn't have to be wrong. But out of the two myths, one is more right, and that can only be you can only arrive at that conclusion through your own investigation. That would be my answer.
Thank you so much. Food for thought.
Yeah, certainly food for thought, because it's like, it's like the same question of like, isn't the Torah a divine book? It sure is. Isn't the Injil a divine book? It sure is. But there's still superiority between the Injil and the Quran, according to our religion. There's still superiority. And within the Quran, don't you say Surat Kursi, not Surat Kursi, what am I saying? Ayat Kursi. Ayat Kursi is one ayah, okay? And yet there's also another ayah, and a third and a fourth, right? Isn't there like Surat Akhlas?
We lost you, Sheikh, Dr. Faris. We can't hear you.
We lost him in Surah Al-Ikhlas.
Allah, mashallah. He's entered oceans of unity. He's
Yeah,
gone.
exactly. Now he's annihilated.
Alhamdulillah.
There's Surat Yasin.
Okay, there you go. You're back again. Hooray. Sorry, you keep disappearing.
Yeah. It's my fault. Listen, I'm going to stop the recording, and we'll leave it there for tonight. And I'll figure out how to get a better connection next week, inshallah. So let's just stop the recording here. Yes, Hannah.